Comedian Bill Maher devoted time on his HBO show April 11 to talk about his recent dinner with President Donald Trump at the White House. Maher's book report on what happened during his meeting with Trump went viral. Maher is a devoted liberal who has had many disagreements with the president. Yet, he was willing to at least talk with Trump in this setting. And it turns out he was pleasantly surprised. The outrage from the left over Maher's betrayal of progressive values was swift and unhinged. The worst response I've seen appeared April 21 in the New York Times. In a so-called satirical essay, Larry David of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld fame mocked Maher's dinner with Trump by writing about his own fictional dinner with Adolf Hitler. Democrats and the Hollywood elite for years have reveled in comparing Trump to Hitler, so the concept is nothing new. But the lengths to which David went in doing so, and the fact that the Times gave him a platform, are a new low. Need a break? Play the USA Today Daily Crossword Puzzle. It also exposes a clear double standard in the news media that places conservatives at a disadvantage. Opinion: Whitmer hides face during Trump visit. It's another cringy moment for Democrats. NYT tries to gaslight Americans about comparing Trump to Hitler. To explain the odd decision to publish David's screed, Patrick Healy, deputy opinion editor, wrote an accompanying piece in which he defended the paper's high bar for satire. Larry's piece is not equating Trump with Hitler, Healy wrote. It is about seeing people for who they really are and not losing sight of that. Sometimes the best way to make an opinion argument isn't in a traditional essay. Americans are inundated with news. It can sometimes take a satirical provocation to break through, even at the risk of causing offense. Talk about gaslighting at its worst. David didn't just mock Maher's decision to have dinner with Trump. The point of his piece is that Trump is so awful that it's as morally repugnant to meet with our nation's president as it would have been to dine with Hitler in Nazi Germany. It's insulting for the Times to try to paint the essay as anything but one that equates Trump with Hitler. David makes clear his message minus that talking to Trump is like talking to Hitler minus at the beginning of his essay. Imagine my surprise when in the spring of 1939 a letter arrived at my house inviting me to dinner at the old chancellery with the world's most reviled man, Adolf Hitler. I had been a vocal critic of his on the radio from the beginning, pretty much predicting everything he was going to do on the road to dictatorship. No one I knew encouraged me to go. He's Hitler. He's a monster. But eventually I concluded that hate gets us nowhere. I knew I couldn't change his views, but we need to talk to the other side, even if it has invaded and annexed other countries and committed unspeakable crimes against humanity. If Trump is Hitler, what does that make the 77 million Americans who voted for him? When I read David's piece, the first thing I thought about was the reaction to a very different opinion article published in 2020. At the time, James Bennett was the head of the Times opinion team when the paper ran an op-ed from U.S. Sen. Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas. Cotton penned a piece advocating for sending in the military to help cities deal with violent riots in the wake of George Floyd's murder at the hands of Minneapolis police. Opinion: Schools are pushing LGBTQ books on kids. Supreme Court should side with parents. It was a valid piece to run from a sitting senator, especially one who appeared to have the ear of the president. Yet, Bennett suffered immediate backlash and persecution from his co-workers, who claimed the op-ed somehow made them unsafe. Bennett eventually was forced to resign. I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that the Times staff is not up in arms over an opinion comparing Trump to Hitler because most of the social justice warriors in the newsroom agree with David's conclusion. No doubt, the current opinion editors will remain in their jobs.